Okay, if you're in a band and you're staying at the Motel 6 and you add a band member and now you're at the Ritz-Carlton, keep your issues to yourself. All right? You went from a Motel 6 in a sketchy part of town to a Four Seasons in the shopping district. Stop talking.
Record-shattering 27 million people tuned in for what should have been a landmark celebration at the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game. But while the action on the court was electric, what unfolded afterwards sparked an entirely different conversation, one that's dividing fans, rattling analysts, and shaking up the basketball world. And right at the center of the storm? A blistering on-air critique from Colin Cowherd, known for pulling no punches, who just unleashed one of the harshest media takedowns in recent memory. His target, Los Angeles Sparks standout, Kelsey Plum. Now, this isn't just your run-of-the-mill sports drama. It's become a flashpoint about professionalism, respect, and the high-stakes politics of speaking out, or speaking too freely. And to put it plainly, Cowherd is furious. Let's rewind to Saturday night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. The WNBA All-Star Game was meant to spotlight the league's elite talent, a night of athletic excellence and unity. But before tip-off, the narrative shifted dramatically. Both All-Star squads walked onto the court wearing striking black t-shirts. Bold white letters across the front read, "Pay us what you owe us." The arena erupted. Fans cheered. Social media lit up. And millions at home watched as WNBA players made a unified, unmistakable stand for equity in pay and respect at the bargaining table. The message was loud, clear, and resonant. A coordinated, visual protest that demanded attention, and got it. But it's what happened after the final buzzer that has everyone talking. At the post-game press conference, veteran guard Kelsey Plum, who's been a key figure in the league since 2017, took the mic and, without hesitation, appeared to target rookie phenom Caitlin Clark. No subtlety. No careful phrasing. Just a direct shot that landed with full force, leaving media members stunned and the fanbase instantly polarized. It was sharp. It was deliberate. And for many, it crossed a line.
That was a very powerful moment. We didn't, at least as players, we didn't know that was going to happen. So I think it was kind of like a genuine surprise. But the t-shirt, just united front, was determined this morning that we had a meeting for. And, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that. But no, we were just... We had a very
that really needed to be mentioned.
No, I'm trying to make a situation light, okay? But yeah, no, I think it was just all of us getting on the same page for the game. We wanted to do something that was just united and collective, and I thought that it was a very powerful moment and got the point across. And sometimes you don't have to say anything.
It was a powerful moment, Kelsey Plum said, reflecting on the team's bold pre-game statement. She was referring to the t-shirt protest, which had already sent ripples through the sports world. According to Plum, even the players themselves weren't fully briefed on the plan ahead of time. The protest, she suggested, came together quickly, with little warning, but the impact was undeniable. And then, she dropped the bombshell. Plum didn't hold back as she pointed directly at Team Clark, yes, that Caitlin Clark-led All-Star squad, for failing to show up to the players' meeting where the protest was organized. It was a calculated comment, one that shifted the spotlight from unity to division. The room went still. By singling out Clark's team, Plum didn't just point out an absence, she implied a lack of solidarity. And in the emotionally charged context of a league fighting for fairness, that accusation carried serious weight. What was meant to be a night of collective strength was now teetering on a fault line of internal tension.
I think it was a terrible PR decision. Judging by the response on social media, it was a PR disaster. All right, an absurd move right before the All-Star Game.
Let that sink in for a second. The very athlete who's been credited with redefining the landscape of women's basketball, turning it from a niche market into a primetime sensation, was just publicly criticized by a league veteran. And not just any veteran, but one who, many argue, has directly benefited from the spotlight Caitlin Clark helped create. Instead of gratitude, she got a public call-out. By Monday morning, the fallout had hit full speed. On The Herd with Colin Cowherd, Fox Sports 1 wasted no time diving headfirst into the controversy. And Cowherd? He came in swinging. "Stop talking," he snapped, his tone escalating with every syllable. "Why in the world would you go after the golden goose?" he demanded, his frustration boiling over. To Cowherd, this wasn't just poor judgment, it was sabotage. He viewed Clark as the league's biggest draw, the catalyst behind record-breaking ratings, packed arenas, and a new wave of fan interest. So, for a teammate, or worse, a veteran leader, to take a public swipe at her, that wasn't just petty. That was reckless. Cowherd wasn't interested in nuance. His message was blunt, clear, and aimed like a missile. Attacking the player driving the league's growth is not just unwise, it's self-destructive.
T-shirts don't bother me, but why do you take a shot at the Golden Goose, Caitlin Clark? You guys were flying before she arrived on one of those airlines that made you pay for a cup of water. One of those airlines that is the planes are the color of a highlighter.
But that fiery rant? That was just the beginning. What followed was a scorched earth verbal takedown, one that's already being clipped, replayed, and dissected across social media and sports shows alike. Colin Cowherd didn't just criticize. He leveled the kind of metaphor that sticks in your brain like a headline. You went from staying at a rundown Motel 6 on the outskirts of town, he said, to the penthouse suite at the Four Seasons in the heart of the shopping district, and now you're throwing shade at the person who got you the upgrade? The analogy hit like a punch to the gut, blunt, vivid, and impossible to misinterpret. And Cowherd wasn't done. He turned up the volume, both literally and figuratively. Whatever personal frustrations you've got, keep them behind closed doors, he snapped. Start recognizing what Caitlin Clark has done for this league. His voice cut through the airwaves, brimming with disbelief. To him, this wasn't just a lack of tact, it was a glaring failure of leadership and perspective. And he ended with a stinging rebuke that left no room for confusion. Grow up.
Don't mind the T-shirts. I think you have leverage. I think you deserve more than 9%. But it's just misstep after misstep. It's time to grow up, girls, like fast.
Here's why Colin Cowherd's outrage didn't just resonate. It rang with cold, hard truth. The data backs him up. And once you see the numbers, it's impossible to ignore the seismic impact Caitlin Clark has had on the WNBA. Before she stepped onto a professional court, league broadcasts would pull in roughly 400,000 viewers on a good night. Fast forward to this season, and games featuring the Indiana Fever, Clark's squad, are averaging over 1.7 million viewers. Regularly. Some matchups have even crossed the 3 million mark. That's not a bump. That's a revolution. Television ratings have skyrocketed, up a staggering 170% year over year. And that's just the start. The league's attendance numbers are telling an even more dramatic story. Indiana sold out 17 of their 20 home games this season. 17. Meanwhile, road games, arenas that used to struggle to fill even half their seats, are now completely sold out whenever the Fever come to town. The ripple effect is undeniable. For nearly 3 decades, the WNBA operated at a financial loss, bleeding anywhere from $10 to $12 million annually. But now, for the first time in league history, it's on track to break even, or possibly turn a profit. And that financial turnaround? It isn't random. It isn't luck. It's Caitlin Clark. That's what made Cowherd's tirade hit so hard. It wasn't just emotionally charged, it was grounded in facts. In raw, measurable change. Yes, Kelsey Plum is an elite athlete with years of service to the league. No one's taking that away from her. But the uncomfortable truth is this: she hasn't moved the needle the way Clark has. Not even close. This is the player who's putting women's basketball on the national stage, Cowherd said, his voice steady with conviction. And you're going after her? It was less of a question, more of a reality check.
Get more profitable as women's basketball gets better, as the Caitlin Clark momentum train gets bigger. I mean, this year she's not playing well, she's hurt, she's not there for all the games, so this is actually not as great as it could be.
Here is almost too much to ignore. Kelsey Plum, and many WNBA veterans, are demanding better pay, and frankly, they deserve it. The fight for fair compensation is long overdue. But here's the twist: they're taking aim at the one player who's actually making those pay raises possible. It's like arguing over the size of your slice, while insulting the very person who brought the pie to the table. And that's exactly why Colin Cowherd's defense of Caitlin Clark has struck such a powerful chord. Because to understand his passion, you have to understand what Clark has actually done. And she's done it all in less than a year as a pro. Let's rewind. Clark didn't just break records, she rewrote the history books. She became the all-time leading scorer in NCAA Division I basketball history, men's or women's, with an astonishing 3,685 career points. No one, male or female, has ever scored more. She led the University of Iowa to back-to-back national championship appearances, something no team had pulled off in over 15 years. But even more eye-opening? Her games routinely outdrew men's March Madness matchups in TV ratings. Millions tuned in to watch her play. And not just basketball fans, casual viewers, first-time watchers, even critics found themselves drawn in. Caitlin Clark didn't just dominate on the court, she brought a whole new audience with her. And now, as she carries that momentum into the WNBA, she's not just helping her team. She's helping every player in the league. Higher viewership, sold-out arenas, corporate sponsorships, media buzz, and yes, real revenue. Yet somehow, instead of being protected, she's become a target.
Literally went from an average walk-in price of $121 to 64 bones. $64 to get in once Caitlin Clark's injury came out that she wasn't going to play. And I'm very interested to see what those ratings look like.
When Caitlin Clark was selected first overall by the Indiana Fever, she didn't just step into the WNBA, she reshaped it. Her arrival sparked a surge the league had never seen. Jersey and merchandise sales exploded. New national TV deals, worth hundreds of millions, were signed practically overnight. Major corporations that had never once invested in women's basketball were now lining up to cut checks. Nike secured her with an 8-year, $28 million endorsement, the most lucrative contract ever awarded to a woman in basketball. Gatorade launched a signature drink in her name. Wilson designed a custom signature basketball. This isn't typical rookie buzz. This is Michael Jordan-level impact in a league that's never had anything remotely close. Clark isn't just a player, she's a brand, a movement, a cultural shift. And yet, here we are. Back to the controversy. Kelsey Plum's remarks didn't just stir the pot, they exposed something that should concern every WNBA fan who cares about fairness and unity. Plum revealed that there was a players-only meeting to coordinate the now-viral t-shirt protest. But apparently, Team Clark, her all-star squad, was either never invited or simply didn't show up. Either option raises red flags. Because if one of the league's most visible players, arguably the face of its future, is being left out of key conversations, that's not just an oversight. That's a message. And it's one the league, and its veterans, may want to rethink, fast.
Knew exactly what she was doing. She knew she was being shitty, and she was. That's what she was doing. She knows Caitlin Clark's got a ton of fans that support her, and she purposely gave her a double middle finger.
Let's just pause and think about the absurdity of it all. The WNBA's biggest star, the very athlete responsible for driving the most revenue, capturing the public's imagination, and putting the league front and center, was excluded from a demonstration about fair compensation. That's not just ironic. That's backward. It's the equivalent of planning a movie premiere and forgetting to invite the lead actor. And Colin Cowherd? He jumped on that contradiction like a hawk. You don't throw shade at the person paying the bills, he said. That's business 101. And he's right. It's the kind of common sense that should be obvious, but somehow, it's not. Because here's the uncomfortable reality that Cowherd had the courage to say out loud. There are WNBA veterans who don't seem to be celebrating Caitlin Clark's success, they seem to be resenting it. And honestly, it's not hard to see why. Players like Kelsey Plum have spent years grinding in this league, training, competing, promoting, surviving. They've put in the time. They've earned the respect. And then suddenly, a 22-year-old rookie shows up, and overnight, she gets all the attention, endorsements, media coverage, primetime slots, fan obsession. Before she even stepped on a WNBA court, Clark had the kind of visibility most players never see in their entire careers. That stings. That's human. That's understandable. But here's where it crosses the line, when those feelings spill into public attacks, wrapped in subtle digs or pointed press conference jabs. That's not professional. And it's not strategic. Because while Clark is out there carrying the league on her back, some of her peers are busy weighing her down. Cowherd's Motel 6 to 4 seasons metaphor wasn't just a clever soundbite. It was a brutally accurate picture of what Clark has done for the WNBA. For nearly 3 decades, the league operated on life support, minimal funding, limited coverage, players taking off-season jobs just to pay the bills. Arenas half full, media attention fleeting. It was survival mode. Then Caitlin Clark showed up, and suddenly the league was living in luxury. Primetime TV deals. Sold-out games across the country. Brand new sponsorships. Signature shoe deals. Higher salary caps. Upgraded travel, better facilities. Things veterans had begged for years, became reality because of her. And what did Clark get in return from one of the league's top veterans? A public rebuke. That's what Cowherd couldn't ignore. Because with his background in business and media, he understands something critical that some players clearly don't. You don't attack your MVP. You don't alienate the one person driving your industry forward. That's not just bad form. It's economic suicide. Let's call this what it is: jealousy. Professional, deep-seated, uncomfortable jealousy. Kelsey Plum isn't just another player. She was a #1 draft pick, a college champion, a multi-time All-Star. She's had an incredible career by every measure, except one. She never moved the needle. In 8 years, Plum didn't generate the kind of buzz, money, or national attention that Clark has pulled in during her first few months as a professional. That's got to be hard to accept. It's emotional. It's personal. But making it Clark's problem? That's where the damage begins. And that's the leadership crisis Cowherd zeroed in on. Where are the veterans stepping up to defend Caitlin Clark? Where are the voices saying, "This is our moment, let's protect it"? Instead of building her up, too many are tearing her down. And for what? Pride? Ego? Clark should be surrounded by support. Celebrated. Guarded. Elevated. Because if she's going to stay in this league for the next 10 to 15 years, she'll need more than media hype. She'll need teammates who believe in what she's doing for all of them. Here's the part no one wants to admit: Caitlin Clark doesn't need the WNBA. She could walk away tomorrow and make more money through endorsements, media deals, or brand partnerships than she'll ever earn playing basketball. She could pivot to broadcasting, coaching, or any number of lucrative options. The league needs her, not the other way around. "Stop talking," Cowherd said, again and again in his now viral segment. But that wasn't just a warning to Kelsey Plum. It was a message to every player who might be letting quiet resentment grow louder than reason. Stop talking, and start appreciating. Stop complaining, and start capitalizing. Stop undermining, and start understanding that your paycheck, your visibility, your platform, is tied directly to Caitlin Clark's popularity. Because the second she decides the backlash isn't worth it, the 5-star accommodations disappear. Fast. What Cowherd delivered wasn't just a fiery sports monologue, it was a wake-up call. A necessary dose of reality for a league at a critical crossroads. The WNBA has spent nearly 3 decades waiting for a transcendent figure to lift the sport into mainstream relevance. They finally got one. She's young, wildly talented, and already doing the impossible, making women's basketball must-see television. And instead of protecting their most valuable asset, some are picking fights on camera. It's insanity. And Cowherd was absolutely right to call it out with the urgency and passion it deserved. So now the question is this: will the WNBA take the message seriously? Or will it keep chipping away at its own progress, one petty comment at a time? Because if this continues, if the league lets resentment replace gratitude, don't be surprised when the golden goose decides to fly off and never come back.